Howdy fellow skeptics, Lester the Skeptic Tank here. I've been recently inspired, particularly with a few of the comments made by Peaches TV 621, asking me to provide a tutorial on certain Linux topics. And I was just thinking about maybe I can do something, at least the way I come at it, with respect to getting to Slackware, where to start. And so this is going to hopefully be an A to Z type of video. Hopefully it doesn't get too long. Yes, I'm evaluating my current inventory of videos I've made, seeing if I need to trim them down, whatever. To start, Slackware, this domain has been around forever. Just going to give a quick walkthrough. Still around. 15. That's what I'm running. Again, like I mentioned about, there is a sector of the Slackware community at large where you have the opportunity, and even in the installation when you get your packages, you have the opportunity to install what's called Slackware Current. Now, the only thing to keep in mind is a lot of the stuff in Current, it's meant for testing purposes, and it may not be the best experience for a given user, depending on what they expect. And so, to start, here it is. Now, to get Slack, you just go to this link. And here they say download the complete Slackware distribution from one of our mirrors, and it'll give you a list. Now you can download things individually, but if you need a build, if you were going to get the DVD, you can get it in the form of an ISO. If you're looking for individual files, like say you need to download a package and somehow your Slack package isn't working, you can get here, click the file tree, and surprisingly they kept a lot of releases. Very first one, it looks like anyway, all the way to the, as you can tell, I mentioned Slackware Current, so if you want to get the bleeding edge, here it is. You've got version 15, and you can see also that they provide the 32-bit Slackware if your processor is only 32-bit in its architecture. So they still have that. I had a laptop back in the day that was purely 32-bit, and I did download a version of, I believe it was either 14.2 or 50.0. But for most modern users, most modern machines, you could just get an ISO, and whichever you need, you got 32-bit ISO, or you've got the 64-bit as well. Now all you got to do is just download this, and it fits on a single layer DVD. Back in the day, double layer was the thing because double the size or capacity, especially when DVD burning was really a thing. Don't know if it is nowadays. I mean, with all the storage devices available with the increased sizes, flash drives especially, I still haven't gotten my 512 gigabyte flash drive set up just yet. At some point I shall. But this is where you would start. Download the ISO, and then you would use your favorite burning program. And what I'll intend to do is set up what's called VirtualBox. You might be aware of it already, maybe not, but it's one of those things where you can actually install your preferred operating system. You can either put any variant of Linux, you can put any variant of Windows. I can tease you this right now here. And I'm just going to do a quick tag for VirtualBox. And I'm just going to see if my VirtualBox is still running. So, as I mentioned in other videos, I have the K desktop environment installed. Interesting new window. Let's see if I can use my Alt F2. I think that was the, not that, but Alt F2. Yes. Alt F2 is a common keystroke in any desktop environment. I've used what was called the X. Linux is known to have a lot of acronyms thrown at you. So the other desktop environment that I used prior to my preferred one at the time called GNOME, but it was XFCE, which is the X free cholesterol environment, or I think it was XCFE, or cholesterol free environment. It was supposed to be a lean desktop environment. So let me see if VirtualBox will load. I might have to reinstall since I've updated my kernel a couple of times since. Yep. I have to figure out what's going on with my installation, but I'm going to download version 7 and all distributions. I'm not using any of these specific distributions. Again, as I mentioned about package management, they use a specific type of package, just like in Mac, because of its Unix heritage that it was given during the first iteration of OS 10 or OS X. They have a thing called, I think their package is .pkg. So I'm going to download all distributions. Interesting. I have to download it like, let's see if I need to download like this. Save link as. Oh. Okay. Where are my binaries? Package for your match Linux if you're running a 64 kernel. Yep, that's true. This is what it would look like from the back-end perspective. So how do I get the change log? That's cool. Extension pack binaries. Because I tried to say the link as, and it asked me for a I wonder if I have to type .run. That's confusing me. I'm gonna see if it'll give me that, and I probably will want to. Let me see if I can get what I can get away with here. I might open another tab. Default. There it is. So sh is just a command to run a shell script, and because that's when you saw what happened when I clicked on that link, that's what pretty much it amounts to. And okay, aha. I will keep that in mind, and I will. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna run that command again, point to that. Yep, the installer is okay. Could not open modules. All right. Yeah, I was using the previous version. Okay. It apparently has been installed. Let's double check that and see if I can run it under standard user. Okay. Now, what this allows you to do is add a machine. So what I'm going to do is add file name. And I do have an ISO already in my one of my drives. And okay. Oh, okay. I can establish a new one. I can go that route. Operating system. So it defaults to Windows 10, and I believe, yes, it's already included stuff for Windows 11. Oh, Windows 2022 shows how little I've kept up. But you have the world at your oyster. You pretty much can set up any imaginable operating system that's been popular over the years. Now, in my loose researching, years ago, I found a way to implement a Mac VirtualBox. It's a little convoluted in how to set it up. I don't know how valid the guide is at this time. I may do some further research on that if I want to show how to do it. But my research showed that I had to do it from a Windows-based host for VirtualBox. So, other interesting. I suppose if I were to install it, and I can jump into my Windows partition at some point and maybe demonstrate that part, I might have to do it that way. Because I would have thought I was going to be able to do that here. Type. Ah, I could. So I could have done, I can do Linux, and I can do interesting, Slackware is not listed. Other Linux. Okay. So I'm probably gonna do it that way. So I will get back in terms of how I'm gonna end up setting it up. It shouldn't take me long. I just gotta figure out where I'm gonna store this. Just as a teaser though, I know I talked about gaming in Linux, and might as well show what I would use as a guide. And I'm gonna be honest, this is gonna be something new in the last few years, because honestly, I haven't kept up. I just haven't kept up. Life happens, work happens, especially in those times where I was laid off. Then I came back, laid off, and then come back again. So I know there was this place called FOSS, free and open source software. And I'm gonna just do a quick look up here, Linux games. There have been some fun games. If for those who gamed in the early aughts, there was a popular game back in the day called Enemy Territory. Let me see if it's still around. It was a World War II based first-person shooter. Enemy Territory. Let me see if Linux. Let's see. Oh, it's on Steam now. Okay. my Steam is open. Now, the upside to having Steam is, say, for example, and I find this intriguing, that install to oh. Let me see if I even have my gaming partition. I thought I did, but let me open another tab. But if it had detected my gaming partition, let me see if let's open another tab to see if it's present. Open up the default. Sign into my Alright, let's check what my mounts are. And based on what I'm seeing at the moment, doesn't look as though that partition's been mounted yet. So the drive I will look to mount is my second NVMe. Now, my technology might be dated compared to most, I suppose, most, let's see, NVMe, 1 and 1, and see if it's already mounted on gaming. Okay. So, CD gaming. What's in there? CD Steam. Should have all my, okay. What do I have? Yep, I should have it. Let me see if it needs to do another scan of my drives. Cancel. Storage. Is there a way for me to do a rescan? Choose another location. As you're seeing, I'm moving up the directory level, and I'm just going to do this. I'm going to open that, and there it is. So with that, after adding my library, so here's the hope. I'm going to close this out, and this is without me having to dig into a build script. Say if I were to download a game on Slackbuilds, I don't have to go through the language, and this is part of the multi-level or multi-interest, the diverse interests I have. So I'll probably do a language video at some point, probably something about language acquisition. So I'm going to try to keep it nice and simple on that. But now that I got my library reestablished, that's my hope. So there it is. I'm going to close it down, and if I go back to Steam, now Battle for Westnoth. See, if I were to go to Slackbuilds, it probably defaults to one of the directories you would use for most installations, which is /user. So I was looking at that, and the reason why I was reverting to Steam was seeing if I could find enemy territory. And then I could put it on my bigger partition if I wanted. The cool thing about this game, and this is funny, put in your date of birth. I really wonder if there's ever going to be a way to really fact check the entry of this data. You know, just a quick aside, I had my mom's goddaughter, when Facebook was just rolling around before it got big, I started seeing some people who I knew weren't 18 on Facebook. I will say no more, but I don't know if there will ever be a way to get that fact checked. I'll buy that wolf pack. Was Return to Castle. Ooh. Oh. Tempting. So you get those. It's a threefer. I'll go for that twofer. Later. I'll probably buy that at full price. I don't mind. Just gonna add that to my library. And then from here, I'll go to my library. Oh. And I guess the nice thing about Steam, as I've used it for my Windows gaming, easy updates, especially when you launch it. Like you saw in my multi-lib support video, it does a lot of updating to the application. So let's see, Wolfenstein Enemy, War Thunder, that's already. Oh really? So. Could have sworn there's a Linux version, but apparently not. If I remember right, I thought there was. So let's see. Let's check Slackbuilds. More of a reason for me to get onto my Windows partition, but like I mentioned in my other videos, I try to avoid that. Let's see what. So going back to my original search then, because I could have sworn I saw a Linux version of Enemy Territory. I could be wrong. Let's see. Linux games. I might check that link later. GitHub. I don't know how I feel about GitHub nowadays, since I know it's bought out pretty much by Microsoft. Funny, I just came off a stream talking about Microsoft. Not really wanting to deal with competition, but that's all I'll say about that. Let's check this page out. Oh, Team Fortress 2. War Thunder, I downloaded that. Wakfu, Finishing Planet. Star Conflict. Robocraft. There were some pretty interesting shooters I found. Oh. Almost looks like a Animal Crossing clone? King's Request. Tank. I think I remember Tank Force. Tory Bash. Turn-based fighting games. And again, this is just me after just not having played a Linux game for a while. The Pirate Caribbean Hunt? Ooh. Arena shooter player. You'll probably like it if you're missing out games like Quick Champions on Linux. That's the game I. Oh yeah, there was Hedge Wars. Let's see if is Hedge Wars even on Steam? Store. Hedge Wars. It is on Steam. Add game to library. Okay. And let's see if it'll give me the option, because you never know. Oh yeah. There it goes. Yay! Hedge Wars is Worms. I don't know what I want to call it. Worms Clone? Worms Fork? whatever you call it. Forking is a term in the Linux world where a group of developers within a product, they go on and make their own. Given the open source nature of Linux, so for example, would be there was a thing called Open Office. I think it was Star Office, then became Open Office, and then there was a forking going on that eventually led to what's called LibreOffice. I tried using LibreOffice, but it seemed a little sluggish, and I might give it another try just because, ooh, this looks cool. Urban Terror. That's a multiplayer FPS. Salt Cube, I think. Oh yeah, Super Tux Kart. I remember doing that. Oh, Warsow. Yeah, this is the game, Warsow. Yes, this is pretty cool. Yep, Yep. Torx was one that I remember when I started gaming on Linux, and you know, just trying to survey Steam's availability. Let me see if it's in there. Let's see, Warsow. I think that's how it was spelled, Warsow. Oh, no, it's not. At least not within the. Let's go back to Steam. Doesn't look like it. Warsow. Let's look for that. Nope. Let's go back to Slackbuilds because I think Warsow might be there. Yes. It does not have dependencies. Wow. At least not according to this. So, again, just like I said about programs, you'll find it more in applications, not so much games, depending on the game itself. You notice when I installed Torx, it needed a couple of things. This apparently does not, so let's give this a test run. Hopefully it's going to be as smooth and as painless as I said it was going to be, or at least what Slackbuilds says. I'm going to save it on my desktop, just that's been my habit of late. And I never would have thought my love of languages would bleed into, well, that's what I'm finding out. A lot of my interests, they're bleeding into each other, hopefully in the right way. There's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it. So with this, I think I'm waiting for these two to finish. Come on, I'm on fiber, yo. I should be moving faster. But then again, I am downloading something on Steam. It should have been finished installing. So, again, I'm not sure what I want to make the gaming part of my channel to be. I do like providing tutorials. I've done that for my work. I guess I inherited my dad's ability to present and teach. I never would have thought. So it looks like that's been done, so I'm going to go and change directories. Alright. And again, just using this, because that's what I've been used to using. So I've got that. Now I've got to put, a directory has been made. And in the last video with Torx, it's going to make that Warsow folder. I'm going to just do a move. And I need to move the 2 files I downloaded. So that's one. And then what looks to be the SDK file. So I see it there. I gotta go like that. And now that's where I'm gonna send those 2 files. And that's the thing about Linux, is that when you provide names or files and you space them, that means that's what you're gonna move. And again, the folder has to be there, otherwise it might move the 2 files into an oblivion, otherwise known probably as deleted. And then, as I demonstrated earlier in the other videos, I'm just giving them the follow-up command, so I'm going to change my directory right into Warsow. And to prove that, there they are. I've got the two files, and then I can just hit that period and / run the Slack build. Oh. And it's interesting because in Linux you'll find when you build stuff from source, the reason why it comes with, at least Slackware does, when you set it up from out of the box, I didn't bother with how many things I wanted to install versus the number of things I didn't want installed. Is because honestly Slackware still has a pretty decent footprint, meaning that it's small enough you don't need a terabyte to put in a good Slackware installation. I think you can easily get away with 200, 300 gigabytes just for the user directory alone. In terms of putting all your apps and even some of your games. The only thing that would get concerning is if you get the bigger games, but again, games on Linux aren't, depending on the kind of game. As you saw, that there were some ports. I haven't started playing games because the thing with games and me, it's easily a time suck. I can easily get into a game and I can be on it for hours. That's another reason why I really try to stay out of my Windows partition, because I'm a big Madden guy. Speaking of which, I'm pretty sure Madden 24 has been out. Now, I've been playing Madden because, I hate to say it's the only game in town, and I try to make certain feeble efforts maybe a few years ago, because the one thing I appreciated growing up in the 80s, I would say more so the 90s, because that's when the football games became a little bit more playable, more enjoyable to play. But I have to admit, when I was even a kid in the late 80s playing the Joe Montana football games, and then playing them again, I realized how ahead of its time they were. And just something happened with Sega. Like they're like the people that push things into the front, but somehow it's like that first impression that just like lasts for only so long, and so forth. And growing up in the 90s playing football games, you weren't lacking options. So for those who played the SNES or Genesis even, later on in the PlayStation era, you had games like NFL Quarterback Club, Pro Action Replay. No, that's a cheat. That's a cheat device that was on the NES or SNES. I forget. But there are a lot more gaming football games available. You had the Sega series that was still going on strong during the mid to the late 90s. And then NFL 2K came onto the scene. At the time, in the mid 90s, it was like between Quarterback Club and Madden. Even, I think as they got to like Quarterback Club 97 or even 2000, you almost had to compare things. And if I were to, while this is building, I'm gonna do it. I was meaning to do this. I was looking at Game Pro, because I put things in conversation kind of in passing. I don't know if it's deliberate, but this idea of baselines, and I'm still working on my Bruce Lee thought piece, and it mentions that as well. GamePro.com? Wait a minute. Is that password manager? Wait a minute. What is that, a PC mag? Let's see. GamePro. Oh, okay. So I got to do some history digging. GamePro mag. Okay. I don't like referring to archive.org. Maybe. Oh. Uh-oh. For those who grew up in the 80s and 90s, this was your publication, and then I think friends of mine in grade school were talking about EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly, rest in peace, because I think they also went out of business. Oh my God, whoever offered these, oh my God, you're a godsend. I got to contribute somehow. I will sign up for that. But Game Pro, Electronic Gaming Monthly, I forget if Nintendo Power is still a thing, but it was one of those big threes growing up in the 80s and 90s. Let's check on the build there. Oh, it's done. Yay, impossible gameplay. Upgrade package. You've seen me do this before. Upgrade package and install new. Oop. Nope, and like I said, Linux is very, or I shouldn't say very, it simply is case sensitive. So you gotta type the file names, you gotta type commands in the proper casing. Otherwise, you will throw out invalid command or file not found. You can't mess that up. There it is. Now for the fun part. Now, I think I mentioned this in the other video. In KDE, I can have a blank desktop like you're seeing here. I'm not having a window in front of me. I can just type, there it goes. See, Hedge Wars is already installed. Warsow is already showing up. I can hit this and see, there it goes. Log in with your, oh, save your statistics. Perhaps you'd like to learn the basics of the gameplay and test your combat skills on our tutorial. I would just, okay. I just want to see how it detects my graphical, looks like it is. Okay. Yeah, good old WASD. Okay, this game looks like it's really... Oh, jump. Okay. Jumping to speed. To get to mute speed, use the dash, mouse 2, R shoulder, and then the space or L trigger jump. Okay. Ah. Oops. Oops. Alright, Fletcher Williams, I'm not trying to take your thunder. Because right now, I guess I'm living up to your namesake because I'm sucking right now. Alright, enough of that. I'm going to quit. Main menu. And I'm going to quit. Alright guys, like I said, I'm going to, well, let's do this. Let's test out the, I'll go ahead and I will create a totally separate video knowing that I've got at least some level of VirtualBox set up, and then I'll go from there. Hopefully this walkthrough of installing another game, you can see how easy it is, especially with the help of Slackbuilds. So until the next time, fellow skeptics, catch you in the next video. Again, thanks again to Peaches TV621. Hopefully this helps Peaches TV621. As I understand it, you're a fellow Slackware head, as I am. So take it easy as well for yourself. Alright. See you then.